Name the first city the beast will seize. If you said Babylon, you're already late. Revelation's most explosive secret isn't a 1-hour fireball at the end. It's an earlier takeover, crowned by a throne. What city does hell want? First, the banking capital of the world, or the hill God marked with his name? Which skyline should we be watching when the clock hits 1? Here's the weight of Scripture, not speculation. Jesus' Olivet warning, whoso readeth, let him understand, and a quiet measurement in Revelation 11. Both point to the holy city trampled for 42 months. Daniel's covenant breaks the sacrifice's stop, and the image rises. This isn't a rumor. The numbers lock. The pattern repeats. The text names the ground. Now the twist. Revelation doesn't open Babylon's judgment. It opens the beast's occupation in the one city where he doesn't just destroy, he sits. See that, and everything else snaps into place. Commerce empires, even Babylon's finale. If you're ready to follow the text wherever it leads, drop 777 in the comments, like and subscribe. Take a breath. This will get intense and personal. Open your Bible and keep your eyes on the timeline. Discovery 1 starts now. The city everyone gets wrong. Revelation reveals the cities that will fall first under the beast. He cried out, not softly, not as a whisper in a cave, but mightily, with a strong voice. Can you hear it? Babylon the Great is fallen, is fallen. A double strike, like a hammer on stone. Revelation 18:2. Not a stumble, not a decline. Fallen twice, emphasis. Finality, totality. John's vision lingers on the aftermath, a city hollowed into a habitation of devils, a vault of foul spirits, a cage rattling with unclean, hateful birds. If you stood on that shoreline, what would the air smell like? Salt and smoke, or judgment itself? Then the camera in Revelation pulls back. Kings, men who dined with her, traded favors in silk-lit rooms, stand afar off for the fear of her torment, and their voices crack. Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. Revelation 18:9-10. 1 hour, 60 minutes, from untouchable to unrecognizable. Can you picture global feeds lighting up heads of state, whispering through clenched teeth? Markets whiplashing. Merchants weep as inventories die on the ledger. Shipmasters cry out because the sea lanes, arteries of the world, suddenly clot. A superpower erased before the coffee cools. If you were the harbor pilot, watching plumes rise beyond the horizon, would you edge closer or back away in fear? This is where most prophecy conversations typically take place. The speculation is endless, almost hypnotic. Rome, the ecclesiastical throne, the woman on the beast. Revelation 17. New York, the humming heart of finance and media. Dubai, glittering, towers and oil-warmed luxury, or a literal resurrection of ancient Babylon in Iraq, recast as a one-world capital. Be honest, which city flashes first in your mind, and why? But here's the nerve you have to touch if you want the rest to make sense. Babylon's end arrives late, not at the opening act, not during the first tremors, but near the edge of the stage, after the bowls are poured by Revelation 16, and the clock has nearly run out. Scripture doesn't paint a slow siege here. It paints a sudden burn. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord God who judgeth her. Revelation 18:8. One day, sudden, catastrophic, final. Have you ever watched a building implode? How it hesitates, shudders, then collapses into its footprint. Now scale that to a civilization. So ask yourself, if Babylon's fall is a last interval judgment, if it's a one-day firestorm after most of the 7-year canvas has already filled, what happens first? What cities crack before the clamor around Babylon? If you wait for this single hour as your trigger will, you be staring at the wrong clock, while earlier, dominoes tip. Notice the texture of the text. Babylon's demise is spectatorship at a distance. Kings afar off, shipmasters seeing smoke merchants lamenting vanished cargo. It feels like the world is watching a funeral pyre they dare not approach. Contrast that with the beast's rise, which smells like proximity pressure and control authority measured in months, not minutes. Power was given unto him to continue 42 months. Revelation 13:5. Does that sound like a sudden bile or a tightening vice? If you were a citizen inside the first city that bends the knee, would it look like fireworks or checkpoints, rationing, and a new creed you must speak to buy and sell? Revelation 13:16-17. Scholars have long heard an echo in the double-fallen Isaiah's oracle. Babylon is fallen. Isaiah 21:9. The Bible often pairs echoes with endings. The second strike seals the verdict. But here's the hidden clue. Endings explain endings. They don't announce beginnings. Babylon's blaze tells you how late it is, not where the story starts. If you were mapping the tribulation like a traveler plots a road, Would you mark the final toll booth as your first turn? Imagine it personally. You're a trader on a midnight desk when the screens turn red and the shipping maps empty. Your phone buzzes, alerts stacking like hailstones. Do you assume the beast just took power? Or that you're watching the last chapter of a city that was ruled by seduction, only to be judged in a single day? If you've been taught to wait for Babylon's smoke before you take prophecy seriously, are you already 20 steps behind? Revelation reveals the cities that will fall first under the beast, and Babylon, for all her noise, isn't the opening note. Her destruction is the cymbal crash at the end of the movement, not the first drumbeat. So hold that image of 1 hour ruin, but don't let it blind you to the earlier markers, the months of delegated authority, the coercion of conscience, the economic brand that turns commerce into creed. If you were there, if your city woke tomorrow to a new pledge required at every doorway, would you recognize the pattern or keep scanning the horizon for Babylon's flames? Which city do you think the text suggests bends first, and why? If you had to stand afar off watching smoke, you dared not approach what would run through your mind. Fear, relief, or the sinking realization that the earlier signs had been in front of you all along. Stay with this thought. The late fall of Babylon is the spotlight of the finale. The earlier falls, quieter, colder, tell you who is already on the throne. You're about to miss the city that collapses first because your eyes are on the wrong skyline. Jesus doesn't leave this to guesswork. He names it. Picture the scene. You're seated on the Mount of Olives, the afternoon light sliding across the white stones of the temple. The disciples lean us in. What will signal your return? What marks the end? Jesus walks them through. The tremors, counterfeit messiahs, wars and rumor mills, famines, earthquakes, betrayal, a world shot through with deception, and the gospel racing to every nation. Matthew 24, 4-14. Then he slows down, as if circling a line with a thick pen. When you see the abomination of desolation spoken by Daniel, standing in the holy place, whoever reads, let him understand. Matthew 24:15. Do you feel that bracketed whisper? It's a divine highlighter. Pay attention, or you will stand in the wrong place at the worst time. What is this abomination? Daniel foresaw it, a profanation that halts sacrifice. Daniel 9:27, 11:31, 12:11. Paul describes the same moment. A man of lawlessness takes his seat in the temple of God, announcing himself as divine. 2 Thessalonians 2:3-4. John's vision aligns an image, raised worship, enforced economics, rewired around allegiance. Revelation 13. Different voices, same scene, one figure, one sanctuary, one sacrilege. Where does it happen? Jesus answers before we can invent our own maps. Then, let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Matthew 24:16. Not Babylon, not Rome, not Cairo, New York, or Dubai. Judea, the ridges and valleys encircling Jerusalem. The holy place in view is not abstract. It's local, geographic, unmistakable. If you were standing on a rooftop in the old city when the image is raised, would you hesitate, or would your feet already be moving? Listen to the cadence that follows. It's breathless on purpose. If you're on the housetop, don't go down for your bag. If you're in the field, don't turn back for a cloak. If you're expecting or nursing, the road will be merciless. You will need a miracle of speed. Pray it's not winter. Roads slick, wadis flooded, or Sabbath gates shut, travel constrained. Matthew 24:17-20. Can you feel the urgency squeezing the margins of your choices? If your keys were inside and your shoes by the door, would you still run barefoot? If your family was scattered across the city, who would you call first? Or do you just move and trust God to shepherd them to you? Why this ruthless immediacy? Jesus doesn't leave the question dangling. Then there will be great tribulation, such as has not been from the beginning of the world until now. No, and never will be. Matthew 24:21. The instant the sacrilege stands, the age's worst persecution begins. The city becomes the throne room of the beast, the stage where worship is demanded, loyalty measured and refusal punished. Imagine checkpoints replacing street vendors, loudspeakers replacing prayers, and a new creed at every doorway. If you stayed how long until someone asks you to speak the words you cannot speak? Do you see the sequence? Now, Daniel sketches it like a timeline you could measure with your fingers, a covenant affirmed for 1 week, 7 years. Halfway through. Day 1, 260, the treaty is shattered. Sacrifice stopped, the abomination planted. Daniel 9:27. Revelation 11:2-3, 12:6. The first stretch carries the fragrance of peace and security, enough calm for worship to resume, and a sanctuary to function. Then, midpoint, the mask drops. In 1 hour, your safest neighborhood becomes a hunting ground. If you knew the doorway of history changed at noon on day 1, 260, where would you stand at 11:59? And notice the texture of Jesus's warning. It is hyper-local and brutally practical. Rooftops, fields, cloaks, weather, Sabbath. This is not a distant capital's implosion watched from a shoreline. This is a city you can walk across in an hour, suddenly unwalkable. Whoever reads, let him understand. Understand what? That's when the idol stands. minutes matter, that the command to flee presumes you are close enough to hear the rumor, close enough to see the smoke, close enough to be swallowed unless you move. Let's put you in the frame. You're on a flat roof, evening breeze, carrying the smell of bread from the alley below. A friend bursts through the stairwell. It's happened. Do you grab your wallet, your passport, or do you jump the parapet to the neighbor's roof and start threading north toward the ridge trails? You're in a field on the western slopes. Do you sprint toward the city for your coat, or take the goat path toward the hills of Samaria with dust in your throat and prayer in your chest? If travel is throttled on the Sabbath, and you are a devout Jew who doesn't break gates, what do you pray for now that you've always taken for granted? Hidden in Jesus' command is the first city clue. People miss while arguing about Babylon. Babylon burns late in a day, as a spectacle the world watches afar off. Revelation 18. Jerusalem falls early in a moment as an occupied sanctuary. You must flee from up close. Which clock will you read? If you wait for the smoke of Revelation 18 to start packing, will you have ignored the whisper of Matthew 24 that told you to run long before? Consider the emotional undertow. This isn't panic for panic's sake. It's obedience, born of prophecy. Lot's wife turned and turned to salt. Genesis 19:26. Jesus adds, remember, Lot's wife, Luke 17:32, as if to say, nostalgia kills. When the sacrilege rises, the city you love will love you back with a price you cannot pay. If your name, your livelihood, your family traditions are woven into Jerusalem's stone, can you let go in a single breath? Could you walk away from your keys, your keepsakes, your Sabbath loaf still warm on the counter? The scriptures braid together here. Daniel's arithmetic, Paul's temple scene, John's image, and Jesus' flight path. 4 vantage points. One junction, the beast's dominion, is measured in months, 42 of them. Revelation 13:5. That sounds like a rule installed, not ruins smoking. It sounds like a city bowed, not leveled. If you were tasked with choosing a rendezvous point for survival, would you look for a harbor or a mountain ravine? Would you cling to a dress and habit, or to a promise and a path? So let's say it plainly, the way Jesus does. The first city to fall under the beast's heel is the city around the holy place. Jerusalem becomes ground zero the moment the profanation stands. Judea becomes a corridor of flight. The mountains become mercy. And for those who hesitate, the narrowest window in history swings shut. What would you do in the first 5 minutes? Which road would your feet trust in the dark? If you live far from Israel, does this sound like someone else's problem? Or does it recalibrate what watching actually means? The sign Jesus underlines is not a distant blaze, but a local desecration. If you had to choose between packing smartly and moving immediately, which choice would save your life? Hold that thought, because if Jerusalem's fall is the opening gateway to the worst persecution the world will ever see, then the next question is obvious and uncomfortable. Where do the mountains lead, and who survives the path? He raises his image where only God should be named. He announces himself as a deity. He sits himself in the city of the great King. And from that instant, the clock starts 42 months of iron. Rule Revelation 11, 2, 13, 5. Jerusalem, its streets, its courts, its sanctuary becomes his capital, his command center, the stage of his blasphemy. Do you feel the shift? Not Babylon first, not Rome, not New York, not any neutral ground. Jerusalem falls under the beast's direct hand at the midpoint, exactly as Daniel measured it, exactly as Jesus warned Daniel, 9:27. Matthew 24:15-21. But why Jerusalem? Why choose the one city guaranteed to ignite the world? Why not enthrone himself in Rome's religious shadow or New York's financial glare? Because there's one hill Satan has coveted for 4,000 years. One throne he has always wanted to counterfeit. If you stood on the Mount of Olives and watched the afternoon light wash over Zion, could you sense why this ground draws every battle line? Here's the lens that clarifies everything. Jerusalem is not merely ancient, strategic, or symbolic. It is chosen. For the Lord has chosen Zion. He has desired it for his dwelling. This is my resting place forever. Here I will dwell, for I have desired it. Psalm 132, 13-14. Not the largest, not the richest, not the most defensible desired. God set his affection there. He placed his presence there. He stamped his name there. The city which I have chosen for myself to put my name there. 1 Kings 11:36. 2 Chronicles 6:6, 7:16. When Israel prayed, they faced this city. When glory filled the temple, it rested between the cherubim here. When kings were crowned, Zion was declared the city of the great King. Psalm 48:2, Matthew 5:35. If God marks a city as his dwelling, what does the adversary long to do except sit where he was never invited? Listen to Isaiah expose the oldest ambition. I will sit on the Mount of Assembly. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. Isaiah 14:13-14. Where is that Mount of Assembly? The prophets keep pointing to Zion. I have set my King on Zion, my holy hill. Psalm 2:6. If God enthrones his Son, there wouldn't the counterfeit kingdom attempt its enthronement on the very same stage? If you were the deceiver, would you settle for a throne in some other capital? Or would you reach for the one place that makes your claim look most convincing and most profane at once? Now connect the timeline to the terrain. Daniel says sacrifice is halted in the middle of the week, and an abomination is set in the holy place. Daniel 9:27, 12-11. Jesus locates it in Judea and orders immediate flight. Matthew 24:16-20. Paul describes a man taking his seat in the temple of God, proclaiming himself to be God. Thessalonians 2:3-4. John measures the outer court, then says they will trample the holy city for 42 months. Revelation 11:2. 4 voices, 1 address. If the image rises in Jerusalem, where does the beast plant his throne? And if that throne stands, which city, by definition, falls first? Let's make it personal. Imagine you're pressed against the western wall, the murmur of psalms in your ears when sirens fracture the afternoon. News ripples, the daily offering is stopped, an image is raised, loudspeakers demand a new allegiance. Do you look back at your apartment for a coat? Or do your feet find the nearest stair that climbs toward the hills? If you were a shopkeeper in the old city, would you close the shutters, or would you leave the keys in the door and run? If you live oceans away, does this feel distant, or does it recalibrate what watching actually means? Jerusalem is not just sacred real estate. It is a covenant bullseye. God says, I will be a wall of fire around her, and I will be the glory within her. Zechariah 2:5. He also warns that in the last days, I will make Jerusalem a cup of staggering to all the surrounding peoples, and all who try to lift it will hurt themselves. Zechariah 12:2-3. The very verses that declare protection also predict pressure. Isn't that what makes the beast's claim so audacious? That he sits where God promised to dwell, demanding worship in the place designed for true glory. Some have noted that Jerusalem's valleys, Hinnom, Tyropoion, Kidron, curve like the Hebrew letter SSH, Shin, the initial of one of God's names, Shaddai. Whether you see it etched in stone or not, Scripture is plain. God's name is tied to this city. If the Lord engraves his identity, here, can you see why Satan choosing another capital would be a consolation prize? If the counterfeit wants to look inevitable, he must stand where the true king has promised to reign. So the logic snaps into focus. He sets up his image, declares himself God, and occupies the holy city, not because Rome is too weak or New York too secular, but because Jerusalem is God's chosen dwelling, and the crown jewel of the messianic kingdom to come, Isaiah 2:2-3, Micah 4:1-2. To enthrone himself here is blasphemy at maximum volume. To seize this hill is to stage the ultimate imitation of the true reign. If you were deciding where to wage your final deception, would you not pick the very throne room of history? And that is why the midpoint flips everything. From that moment, for 42 months, Jerusalem is the beast's seat, trampled, coerced, surveilled, yet still carrying promises that cannot be burned out. Which leaves you with a question only you can answer. If the city you love becomes the stage of the lie, will you cling to what you own or to what God swore? If the choice came down to a doorway you recognize or a mountain path you've never walked, where would your next step fall? Hold that tension. Because if Jerusalem is the first to be occupied, the next riddle is not where, but who escapes, who witnesses, and who refuses to bow when the counterfeit king sits in the city of the great king. Here's the part most people miss. Satan goes after what God loves most. He desecrates what God calls holy. If the Lord sets his name on a place, the adversary draws a bullseye around it. From the moment Abraham was shown Mount Moriah, the hill where a ram would replace a son, and centuries later a temple would rise, the battle lines were etched into stone. For 4,000 years, the assault has never really paused. It only changes uniforms. Trace the pattern and ask yourself if you see the same hands moving the pieces. Antiochus. Epiphanes storms the sanctuary, splashes swine, blood on the altar, installs an image of Zeus. Outlaws, covenant, worship the prototype abomination that Daniel foresaw, and Jesus flagged as a preview. Daniel 11:31, Matthew 24:15. Then AD 70. Titus encircles the city. The sanctuary burns, streets run red. Survivors are scattered to the winds. Jerusalem, as a Jewish city, has been erased from the map for generations. By AD 637, another banner flies. The city's control shifts again and again, not because of trade routes or river ports, but because of sanctity. Fast forward 1948 to the present. Every war drifts toward Jerusalem. Every negotiation snags on Jerusalem. Every provocation probes Jerusalem. If you lived there, would you not feel at street level that the spiritual fight often wears political clothing? Why is this ground so relentlessly contested? Why has more blood been spilt over one square of earth than any other? Why has it been leveled and raised and leveled again, 9 times, and counting? Because Satan knows what God declared about Zion and refuses to accept it. For the Lord has chosen Zion, He has desired it for his dwelling. This is my resting place forever. Here I will dwell, for I have desired it. Psalm 132, 13-14. If God says, "This is my rest," can you see why the accuser would say, "Then that is where I'll make my stand"? It isn't merely a city he wants, but the city. Not just a sanctuary, but the sanctuary. Not simply influence over a nation, but the nation God elected to carry his name. That's why the final counterfeit walks into the holy place, halts the offering, lifts an image, and proclaims God. Paul doesn't leave it vague. He takes his seat in the temple of God, proclaiming himself to be God. Thessalonians 2:4. St. Peter's in Rome. Number a financial tower in New York num. A gleaming palace in a neutral capital. Not enough. The beast must sit where the Holy One said he would dwell in God's city, in God's house, in open defiance of God's throne. Listen to the heartbeat of the oldest rebellion. I will ascend. I will exalt my throne. I will sit on the mount of assembly. I will ascend above the heights. I will be like the Most High. Isaiah 14, 13-14. 5. I will's 5 rung on the ladder of pride. Where exactly is that mount of assembly? In the sides of the north. The prophets keep pointing you back to Zion, the hill God chose, the hill God promised to honor. Psalm 2, 6. 48, 2. If you were the deceiver, would you crown yourself anywhere else and still convince the world your kingdom is inevitable? Now pull Daniel's calendar beside that map. The Lord told his servant that a measured span 70 weeks is determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city for a cascade of covenant endings and beginnings, finishing transgression, sealing vision, anointing the most holy. Daniel 9:24. Thy people, Daniel's people Israel, thy holy city, not Rome, not Nineveh, not Babylon, rebuilt Jerusalem. The stopwatch of redemptive history is tied to Israel, and Jerusalem not as a footnote, but as the headline. If the plan targets that city for cleansing and crowning, why would the counterfeit not target the same city for profaning and preening? Make it concrete. Imagine you're standing on the Temple Mount's edge on a clear afternoon. The stones are warm under your palm. Psalms ripple from the prayer plaza, and the old city hums. A rumour knifes through the crowd. The daily offering is interrupted. A proclamation rises from loudspeakers you didn't know were installed. An image is unveiled. A new oath is demanded. Do you hesitate to collect your bag, or do your legs know what your mind won't yet say? Run. If you're watching from continents away, do you shrug and wait for Babylon's fireball? Or does your timeline shift because Jesus already told you which hill to watch? This is why Jerusalem falls first under the beast's direct rule, not because it is easiest to capture, but because it is the most meaningful to counterfeit. God put his name there, 1 Kings 11:36. He promised to be a wall of fire around her, and the glory in her midst. Zechariah 2:5. He warned the nations that Jerusalem would be a cup of staggering, a heavy stone. All who lift it will hurt themselves. Zechariah 12:2-3. The same prophetic pages that sing of protection also predict pressure. The beast's throne in this city is blasphemy at full volume, the maximum insult wrapped in a masterful imitation. If you were staging the ultimate lie, would you choose any other stage? And yet, beneath the fury, God's plan for Israel is still unfolding. Daniel doesn't float his prophecy in the abstract. He nails it to a people and a place. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city, to end sin, reconcile iniquity, usher everlasting righteousness, seal up vision, and anoint the most holy. Daniel 9:24. What does that tell you about where the fiercest clash must crest? If the finish line runs through Jerusalem, is it any wonder the enemy throws his weight there? You may be thinking, but you said Revelation reveals this. Where does John say Jerusalem is the one that falls first? That's the pivot most overlooked. Revelation doesn't just gesture, it stamps the timeline in exacting increments. It doesn't merely hint at pressure on an unnamed capital. It clocks the trampling measures the witness and starts a 42-month countdown. When those numbers start ticking, which streets are we standing on? Which gates are being measured? Which courts are being trampled? Hold that question on your tongue. Because once you see how John time codes the midpoint days and months, witnesses, and courts, you'll understand why watching for Babylon's 1-hour collapse at the very end will make you late to the danger that explodes first. And if you found yourself inside those walls when the proclamation comes, would you cling to your keys or to the promise that told you when to leave? When you finally line the verses up and let the numbers speak, the fog lifts. The symbols stop drifting. Discovery 4 isn't a hunch. It's a countdown that ticks in 4 different languages of time. And once you hear it ticking, you can't unhear it. Start where John is explicit. Leave out the outer court. It is given to the Gentiles, and the holy city will be trampled for 42 months. Revelation 11:2. Which city is called holy in Scripture's prophetic frame? Not Babylon, Jerusalem. Picture cobblestones under foreign boots, sanctuaries, ringed with soldiers, prayers drowned by orders, barked in a different tongue. Now pair that with the very next line, I will give my 2 witnesses, and they will prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. 11:3. Do the math out loud. 260 days equals 42 months, equals 3.5 years. Using the prophetic year of 360 days, you see throughout apocalyptic texts. Why would John switch from months to days unless the Spirit wanted you to triangulate an exact span that binds these events together? Keep reading, and the pattern won't let you go. The woman fled into the wilderness to be nourished there. 1,260 days, 12:6. A few breaths later, Scripture says the same thing differently. She is carried into her place where she is nourished for a time, times, and half a time, 12:14. 1 time, a year, times 2, and half a time, half a year. Again, 3.5. You can feel the precision tightening around the middle of the 7. Then the beast steps into frame. He was given a mouth and authority to act for 42 months, 13:5. Do you hear the cadence? Months, days, time, times, and half a time, 3.5 years, told 4 ways, so you don't miss what belongs to that window. What happens inside that window? Jerusalem is trampled by Gentiles, 11:2. 2 witnesses preach and provoke from the city that where their Lord was crucified, 11:8. Israel pictured as the woman flees to a wilderness refuge and is kept alive by God, 12:6-14. The beast blasphemes and rules, demanding worship and branding allegiance, 13:5-18. Does that sound like a late, final 1-hour blaze like Babylon's? Or does it sound like a sustained occupation, a 42-month siege of the sacred? Now anchor those numbers to the trigger Jesus highlighted. On the Mount of Olives, within sight of the temple courts, he warned, when you see the abomination of desolation, spoken by Daniel, standing in the holy place, run Matthew 24:15-16. Not tomorrow, not after you grab a bag. Now. Why? Because that desecration marks the moment the Great Tribulation ignites. 21. Paul fills in the posture. The man of lawlessness takes his seat in the temple of God, proclaiming himself to be God. Thessalonians 2:4. Daniel set the clock's center point. Centuries earlier, a ruler confirms a covenant for 1 week. Then, in the middle of the week, he puts a stop to sacrifice and offering and defiles the sanctuary. Daniel 9:27. If the midpoint is the abomination, and the back half is repeatedly measured as 1,260 days, 42 months, time, times half, then which city falls first under the beast's direct control? The one with the temple. The one Jesus told people in Judea to flee. Jerusalem. Let me lay the timeline beside your imagination so you can feel its weight. Day 1. The clock starts with a signature. He shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. Daniel 9:27a. A 7-year pact with Israel. Can you see the headlines? A statesman framed as a genius peacemaker. Security guarantees. Access to worship. The daily sacrifice resumes. If you lived in Jerusalem, then would you breathe for the first time in years and say, maybe this is it? Stability at last. Days 1 to 1, 260. Years 1 to 3.5. The first half looks calm on the surface. Seal judgments and trumpet judgments begin rattling the world. But to many, the prince still looks like a problem solver. Israel feels protected. Pilgrims gather priests, officiate the rhythm of offering returns. Would you mark your calendar for a festival and decide to stop keeping a go bag by the door? Day 1, 260. Midpoint. The hinge. The abomination of desolation. He walks into the holy place. He halts the offering. An image is set up. Breath is given to the image, so it speaks and compels worship. Revelation 13:14-15. If you were on your roof when the loudspeakers crackled, would you go downstairs for your wallet? Or would your feet move before your mind catches up? Jesus said the latter. Don't go back. Don't pack. Just flee. Matthew 24:17-20. Why so extreme? Because the second the idol rises, the chase begins. Days 1, 260 to 2, 520. The last 42 months, the Great Tribulation. Jerusalem is under Gentile trampling for 42 months. Revelation 11:2. The beast's authority to blaspheme and persecute is stamped for 42 months. 13:5. A mark is enforced on right hand or forehead, so no one can buy or sell without it. 16-18. Meanwhile, in a city that Scripture cryptically calls Sodom and Egypt, where their Lord was crucified, 2 witnesses prophesy in sackcloth for 260 days, breathing fire on their assailants until their testimony is complete. 11:3-7. And the woman Israel escapes to a place prepared by God, nourished for 260 days times, and half away from the serpent's reach at 6-14. Can you picture both scenes running in parallel? The iron heel in the holy city and the hidden camp in the wilderness, while the world is told to bow or starve. Some will ask, and what of Babylon? Revelation keeps her on a separate clock. Her fall is sudden in one day, utterly burned, and kings stand far off, watching smoke rise, stunned that in 1 hour judgment erased, a superpower. Revelation 18, 8, 10, 17. That is late. That is final. That is not the same as 42 months of trampling tied to a temple. If you stare at Babylon, waiting for a morning of fire before you adjust your map, will you miss the midpoint moment that turns Jerusalem into the beast's capital? Notice, too, how God's mercy threads the terror. Even as desecration defiles witnesses, testify. Even as the city is pressed, a remnant is preserved. Even as a counterfeit demands worship, heaven counts days and shortens them for the sake of the elect. Matthew 24:22. Doesn't that tell you something about the character of the author? Writing this timeline, that judgment and rescue are braided, that warning signs are posted in advance, that numbers are not there to mystify but to shepherd. Now bring your own life into the frame. For a breath, if you had to choose what to watch, Babylon's skyline or Zion's hill, where would you point your camera? If you had to answer a friend in 2 sentences, could you explain why 42 months, 260 days, and time times half a time all circle the same drain? If you were teaching a small group, which verse would you put first on the whiteboard to show that the second half begins with a single act in a single room? Here's the sequence, pulled taut, but not spoiled. A covenant opens 7 years. Daniel 9:27a. The first half lulls many into thinking the peacemaker is exactly that. At day 260, the mask drops, the abomination stands where it must not, and the great tribulation ignites. Matthew 24:15-21, 2 Thessalonians 4. For the next 42 months, Jerusalem is pressed under Gentile feet. Revelation 11:2. The beast rages and marks 13:5-18. Israel is sheltered in a prepared place. 12:6-14. And 2 witnesses preach in the city where Jesus was crucified. 11:3-8. Near the end of that back half, Babylon's 1-hour collapse shocks the merchants and kings. Revelation 18. And the armies begin to gather at a place the Bible calls Armageddon. Revelation 16:16. And then the clock hand moves towards 0, and a final scene draws near. But that unveiling belongs to the next chapter of the story. For now, hold the numbers. Feel the urgency of Jesus' warning, and tell me if the 42-month countdown really is this clear. Which verse, months, days, or time, times, half convinced you most? You've seen the end flashed like lightning across the page. The beast was captured, and the false prophet. These 2 were thrown alive into the lake of fire. Revelation 19:20. Jerusalem is freed. 1,000 years of peace dawns and thrones are set. Revelation 20, 1-6. But do you see what that horizon implies about the path? If Christ returns to liberate Jerusalem, at the end, then Jerusalem had already fallen before that. Not at the last hour, like Babylon, but at the midpoint, day 1, 260. When the image is raised, the covenant breaks, and the most dangerous 42 months in human history begin. For the entire Great Tribulation, the beast plants his flag in the holy city. He rules from there. He weaponizes worship from there. And yet, during those same 260 days, Babylon is still humming cargo ships, loading ledgers, ticking incense, burning screens, glowing. How can the throne be in Zion while the engine roars in Babylon? Watch how Scripture braids those lines together. Turn back to the vision that scandalizes the senses. John sees a woman, Babylon arrayed in purple and scarlet, adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls, having in her hand a golden cup full of abominations. Revelation 17, 4-5. She rides a scarlet beast. She is drunk on what? The blood of the saints. If you were standing in John's sandals, would you recoil or stare, trying to decode the symbols? The angel helps the waters. She sits on are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues 7-15. In other words, Babylon is not just a dot on a map. She's a web over the world, a city with a system, a religion with a marketplace, a culture with an appetite. Does that sound like a single cathedral or something vaster stitched into the ports and parliaments of the earth? Then the camera cuts to power politics. 10 horns, 10 kings give their power and authority to the beast. 17:13. They hate the very woman they once carried. These will make her desolate and naked, and eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. 17:16. Why would an empire burn its own capital of culture? The next line whispers the hidden hand, for God has put it into their hearts to accomplish His purpose. 17. Imagine you're a shipmaster. When that decree hits 1 hour, your manifests are green the next. Your harbor is glowing and ash. Would you pound the rail like the merchants in Revelation 18, crying out as the smoke rises? Or would you finally ask the question you've been avoiding? How did my soul get priced by the ton? Hold those images next to Jerusalem's ark, and the contrast sharpens. Jerusalem is the throne room, the place where the beast blasphemes, where he takes his seat in the temple of God, proclaiming himself to be God. Thessalonians 2-4. Babylon is the scaffolding, the commerce, the propaganda, the spiritual narcotic that keeps the nations sedated while the mark is rolled out. Could the beast force? No one can buy or sell unless he has the mark. Revelation 13:17. If Babylon's marketplace collapsed on day one, he needs her. He uses her. He fattens on her channels until those very channels turn and devour her. You can almost feel the chill. The regime eats its priestess while thinking it strengthens itself, not realizing Providence has set a trap. Now place yourself inside the timeline rather than outside it. Picture day 1, 260 in Jerusalem. Loudspeakers crackle. An image is unveiled. Word spreads faster than sandals can run. You're on your roof. Do you go inside for a bag, or do your legs move before your mind catches up? Jesus didn't leave that choice to imagination. Let the one on the housetop not go down. Let the one in the field not turn back. Pray that your flight may not be in winter or on a Sabbath. Matthew 24:17-20. Why such urgency? Because the moment worship is commanded, refusal becomes a death sentence. This isn't a siege that grinds for years. It's an occupation that weaponizes minutes. If you were nursing a child, how would you pray? If your parents couldn't keep pace, what would you do when the road turned to stones? Now jump oceans to Babylon's corridors. A different kind of liturgy hums there. Perfumed banquets, gleaming towers, the soft tyranny of luxury. She reigns over the kings of the earth. Revelation 17:18. She teaches the nations what to love and what to laugh at. She baptizes idolatry in gold and calls it progress. Have you ever felt that spell in your own desires, the pull to measure worth by what can be weighed? If your phone blacked out and the feed went dark for good, would you feel relief or panic? Here is the hinge most missed. Jerusalem falls first, not by fire from afar, but by enthronement up close. The beast needs a holy stage to blaspheme a holy God. He needs Zion to parody the throne. Meanwhile, Babylon must continue, because control requires checkout lines and credenzas, passports, and pulpits. Only as the last bowls are poured, only as the world system cracks, do the horns turn on the harlot. In one day, her plagues will come death, mourning, and famine, and she will be burned up with fire. Revelation 18:8. One day, 1 hour. The screens go black. The shipping lanes stall. The kings stand far off, not out of love, but out of fear that the flames can leap oceans. If you were a trader, watching the ticker evaporate, what price would you put on your soul? Then, Do you notice how God writes judgment and mercy in the same ink, while Jerusalem is trampled for 42 months? Revelation 11:2. Two witnesses rise in sackcloth and speak for 1 days 1103, while the beast brands foreheads a woman. Israel finds a wilderness prepared where God himself nourishes her for a time, times, and half a time 12:14. Even in occupation, testimonies flare. Even in famine, manna appears. Is that a coincidence? Or is the author telling you that no span of darkness is left without lamps? So why does this order matter to you now tonight before the next news alert? Because focus determines vigilance. If you wait to adjust your map until Babylon burns, you will have slept through the siren that Jesus himself posted on the Temple Mount. If you expect the beast's reign to rise out of a single late-hour inferno, you will miss the earlier hour when worship is coerced and flight becomes obedience. And if you are tempted to treat Babylon as a curiosity, someone else's corruption in someone else's city, ask yourself gently, how much of her is already in my habits, my loves, my quiet compromises? Now pull all the strands tight without snapping the cord of suspense. Jerusalem becomes the beast's capital at the midpoint and remains under Gentile boot for 42 months. Babylon's city and system continues to serve him through that period, oiling the gears of money and myth until God turns allies into arsonists and the smoke rises in 1 hour. With her gone, the beast stands exposed and empty-handed. That's when the sky opens, a white horse appears, and the war ends in a sentence. Revelation 19. And then, yes, Jerusalem is liberated, and the long-promised reign begins. Revelation 20, 1-6. But linger here, just before the final reveal. The city that fell first becomes the city that rises highest. Doesn't that sound like the God who brings beauty from ashes? If you had to explain this to a friend in 30 seconds, what image would you use? Jerusalem's throne or Babylon's marketplace? If you were living in the middle chapters, where would you anchor your courage on the numbers God repeated 4 ways, or on the promise that even kings must do his will? Drop your take below. Which detail snapped the timeline into place for you? The 42 months, the merchant's cry, or the horns turning on the harlot? And if you were standing on a roof in Judea the day the image moved, would you know which way to run? Picture Jerusalem under a foreign banner, its stones still trembling from the day the image was raised and worship was weaponized. 42 months of blasphemy have hardened the air. The city that was called holy has been made a stage for defiance. Now lift your eyes east. Do you feel the ground tense beneath your feet? This same Jesus shall so come in like manner. Acts 1:11. he left from the Mount of Olives. So where must he set his feet when he returns? The mount answers before the question finishes. It splits. Rock shears from rock, a valley tears open. The map redraws itself under the pressure of his presence. Zechariah 14:4. If you stood there, would your knees lock, or would your heart remember that every prophecy carries a pulse? Out of that new valley, he advances not as a rumor, not as a headline, but as the rider whose name is faithful and true. Ahead lies a city occupied by the beast halls, fouled by counterfeit glory. Behind him rides an army clothed for victory. Can you hear the hush before armies shout? Revelation lets the lens tighten. I saw the beast and the kings of the earth, and their armies gathered to make war against him who sat on the horse and against his army. Revelation 19:19. You expect a long struggle, a clash of equals, an uncertain outcome. Instead, surprise the center collapses in a sentence. The beast was taken, and with him, the false prophet, or 20. Taken, not slain, seized alive, and flung directly into the lake of fire. No appeal, no delay, no intermediate court. If you were watching from Zion's walls, would you exhale in relief, or gasp that justice could be that swift? The spell breaks. 42 months of borrowed rule end in an instant. The throne room the beast profaned is emptied. The city he strangled for worship is unbound. But Jerusalem does not simply return to normal. What would normal even mean after a mountain splits beneath Messiah's feet? This is the hinge of the story, the part where God doesn't just undo the damage. He rewrites the skyline of history around his promise. Isaiah had sketched it long ago, and now the sketch takes color. In the last days, the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established, and all nations shall flow unto it. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. Isaiah 2:2-3. Can you see the procession? Flags you've never seen, languages you've never heard, faces weathered by former wars and fresh with wonder, all turning up on one road. If you were in that line, what question would you bring to the king? Government relocates to glory, not an ideology, a person. The Lord shall be king over all the earth. In that day it shall be, the Lord is one, and his name one. Zechariah 14:9. Think about that. No competing names to swear by, no fragmented vows. One authority that never lies. One law that never bends. One mercy strong enough to hold justice upright. What statute will go out first from Zion's hill? A Sabbath of the nations, swords hammered into plowshares. If you could watch decrees roll from Jerusalem like sunrise. Which ray would you chase? Listen to God's own pledge. About the city He chose. I am returned to Zion and will dwell in the midst of Jerusalem. And Jerusalem shall be called the city of truth, the mountain of the Lord of hosts, the holy mountain. Zechariah 3. Not a visit, a dwelling, not a fleeting cloud of glory, but a permanent address. Could you live under that kind of nearness, where truth is not a negotiation, but the atmosphere? What would it feel like to wake where deception has no oxygen, where idols cannot breathe, where the memory of blasphemy is eclipsed by a brighter name? Trace the pattern and the paradox crystallizes. Satan targeted Jerusalem because God loved it. The beast occupied Jerusalem to mock that love. God permitted 42 months, not because He had lost the city, but because He was setting the stage to crown it. Then the sun returns. Topography yields a throne is reclaimed, and the world realigns around Zion. The place of greatest desecration becomes the fountainhead of instruction. The seat where the impostor demanded worship becomes the seat where the true king teaches nations how to walk. Isn't that the signature of redemption? To take the wound and make it the witness. Now step into the scene with more than imagination. You join the stream of nations. Dust rises around your ankles as the climb begins. Someone near you murmurs Psalm 122 under their breath. Let us go to the house of the Lord. The old anxieties don't fit here. The old metrics, markets, militaries, and manipulations no longer measure anything. From Zion goes out a word, and the earth adjusts if you carried your private griefs to this mountain. Which one would you lay down first? If a neighbor you once called an enemy stood beside you in the same line, would you recognize the miracle? The shock of revelation. 20. Still lingers. The beast and his prophet thrown alive into the lake of fire, a finality so clean it feels like morning. But the morning is not the end of the day. It's the beginning. The city, Satan, scarred, is raised and robed. The gates that were checkpoints become channels for praise. The countertops where idols once rested become tables where nations eat in peace. Could your heart keep up with that kind of restoration? Or would you need to relearn how to hope? This is not mere reversal. It's enthronement. It's Isaiah's vision, breathing Zechariah's lines, living Acts' promise, closing a circle. Christ's feet touch the mount. He left. The mountain yields. The city He loved is liberated. The kings who once conspired must now come to learn, and the law that once went out in whispers now strides to the far edges of the map. If you've ever wondered whether God simply resets what evil ruins or writes something better in its place, Jerusalem's future is your answer.